Facial recognition technology, the law yet to catch up. Rapid deployment of the facial recognition system by the government without any law in place poses a huge threat to the privacy rights and freedom of speech and expression, says the experts. There are currently 16 different facial recognition tracking (FRT) systems in the active utilization by the various central and state governments across the India for surveillance, security or authentication of the identity, and another 17 are in process of being installed by different government departments. While the face recognition technology system has been rapid deployment by the multiple government departments in the recent times, there are no specific laws or guidelines to regulate the use of this potentially invasive technology. This, legal experts say, poses a huge threat to the fundamental rights to privacy and freedom of speech and expression because it does not satisfy the threshold the Supreme Court set in its landmark privacy judgment in the Justice K.S. Puttaswamy versus Union of India case. In 2018, the Delhi police became one of the first law enforcement agencies in the country to start using this technology. However, declined to answer to a RTI query whether it has conducted the privacy impact assessment prior to the deployment of the facial recognition system (FRS), said the advocate Apar Gupta, co-founder of the Internet Freedom Foundation (IFF), in his RTA application had also asked the Delhi police whether there are any guidelines, police rules or standard operating procedures governing its use of facial recognition technology. Delhi police vaguely replied the FRS technology may be used in investigation in the interest of safety and security of the general public. In the same RTA reply, the Delhi police also stated that the use of facial recognition technology was authorized by the Delhi High Court. Function creep. However, advocate Anushka Jain, Associate Counsel, Transparency and the Right to Information, IFF, pointed out that police got permissions to use FRS by an order of the Delhi High Court for tracking missing children. Now they are using it for wider security and surveillance and investigation purpose, which is a function creep, Mr. Jain said. A function creep happens when someone uses information for a purpose that is not the original specified purpose. In December last year, Hindu reported that Delhi police, with the help of the automated facial recognition system AFRS, was comparing the details of the people involved in the violence during the Anti-Citizenship Act protest in Jamia Millia Islamia with a data bank of more than 2 lakh and antisocial elements. Mr. Jain said the function has widened at the back end and we don't actually know for what purpose they might be using it and how they are being regulated, and if there is any regulation at all. This might lead to an over-policing problem or problems where certain minorities are targeted without any legal backing or any oversight as to what is happening. Another problem that may arise is of mass surveillance, wherein the police are using the FRT systems during the protest. Mr. Jain said, if someone goes to a protest against the government and the police are able to identify the person, then there might be repercussions, she argued. This obviously has a chilling effect on the individual's freedom of speech and expression and the right to protest as well as my right to movement. This might lead to governments tracking us all the time. Proportionality test. Vidushi Marda, a lawyer and the researcher at Article 19, a human rights organization, said that Supreme Court in the Puttaswamy judgment ruled that privacy is a fundamental right even in the public spaces, and if these rights need to be infringed, then the government has to show that such an action is sanctioned by the law, proportionate to the need for such an interference, necessary and in pursuit of the legitimate aim, she said. She flagged various issues with the AFRS, that is Automated Face Recognition System, an ambitious pan-India project under the Home Ministry which will be used by the National Crime Records Bureau and various state law enforcement departments. The IFF filed a legal notice to the Home Ministry asking under what legal basis was the AFRS built, since as per the Puttaswamy judgment it does not meet the threshold for proportionality and legality. The basis for the AFRS is the Cabinet Note of 2009, but the Cabinet Note is not a legal substance. Its procedural note is at best, so it does not form a valid legal system based on which the automatic facial recognition system can be built. What is the questionable accuracy? Who is conducting as a Pantopic, a project to track the deployment and implementation of FRT projects in the country, said that 100% accuracy in finding matches has not been achieved under this technology. In the case of any inaccuracies, the system is installed, two things can happen. There can be a false positive where somebody is recognized as somebody. There are also false negative wherein system refuses to recognize the person as themselves. In case of false positive, she gave an example of police using the FRT system to identify and arrest somebody who is not the suspect. If a false negative occurs when the government is using FRT system to provide its schemes, then it could lead to many people facing exclusion from such a government schemes. The face recognition systems are being developed and deployed across India without any legal framework in the place, which creates a lot of problems. If you are caught hold of by the police throughout the FRT system, what do you do? What are your remedies? There is no framework in place where you can even question them, she pointed. And also, many cities and states in the US have either completely banned the usage or imposed a moratorium on the usage of facial recognition technology. Companies like IBM, Microsoft have decided not to sell these technologies to the law enforcement at all. Even Amazon has imposed a moratorium. Facial recognition technology has not only been invasive, inaccurate and unregulated, but has also been apologetically weaponized by the law enforcement against the people of color. In India, we have no law to protect the people, no guardrails about the usage of the data by private players or government. We hear several news on police abuse even without the aid of technology. Facial recognition is perfect form of surveillance that builds tyrannical societies. It automates discriminatory policies and will exacerbate existing injustices in our criminal justice system. India is facing a facial recognition pandemic, one without any safeguards or remedies for the harms of exclusion, profiling and surveillance. Without urgent action, such systems of mass surveillance will erode democratic liberties and threaten the rights of lakhs of Indians. You can see face unmasked by central government projects, central government FRT projects like Ministry of Civil Aviation and the DG Yatra Foundation, and the purpose is the authentication of identity. The status is still floating. Central Board of Secondary Education CBSE's authentication of identity in utilization currently, and National Crime Records Bureau for security and surveillance, now it is in floating, and South Western Railway and both Hyderabad and Bengaluru for security surveillance. It was started in Hyderabad and Bengaluru, and Ministry of Railways for security and surveillance, it is also started.